Have you noticed it too? That quiet, almost imperceptible shift in people? The way conversations feel shorter. The way smiles look thinner. The way small acts of kindness seem to require more effort than they used to. You walk through a grocery store, sit in a waiting room, or scroll through your phone, and there's this subtle tension in the air, something you can't quite define, but you can feel it. It's like the rhythm of human interaction has changed tempo. Something underneath everyday life feels different. Most people don't talk about it. They brush it off, blame it on stress, or age, or the world just being crazy lately. But what if it's not just that? That's what I want to explore today. Because I don't think this strangeness is random. I think it's a signal, one that says something profound about where humanity is heading. Let's start with what we all feel, even if we don't always say it out loud. People seem drained, not just tired from a long day, but emotionally depleted. Flat in some moments, overstimulated in others. You sit across from someone you've known for years and there's this invisible wall between you. They're there physically, but not really there. It's not anger. It's not conflict. It's disconnection, and if you zoom out, you start to see a pattern that looks a lot like a system pushed beyond its limits. I've spent time around systems, computers, networks, organizations, and they all share something in common. When they're pushed too hard, too long, they don't crash all at once. They start to glitch. That's us right now, a global network of human beings running hot for too long that we're not crashing. We're lagging. We're glitching. Think about what modern life demands of the human nervous system. Constant information. Continuous performance. Endless comparison. We're absorbing more data in a week than our ancestors did in a lifetime. Technology was supposed to connect us. In some ways, it did. But we didn't fully grasp how it would rewire the way we experience connection. Every notification is a small interruption. Every scroll is a micro-decision. Every post is a performance. The human brain evolved to maintain maybe a few dozen close relationships. Now it's trying to process the emotional noise of the entire planet, every conflict, every tragedy, every opinion, all streaming at once into our pocket. That we weren't built for this, and the cracks are starting to show, but it's not just the input. It's the pressure. Because when you live in a system that runs this fast, you don't have much room to slow down, and what you don't process, you end up suppressing. And here's something both psychology and physics agree on. Energy doesn't disappear. It just stores itself until it has to release. People push down fear, anger, grief, not because they want to hide it, but because life keeps moving. You've got to pay the bills, meet the deadlines, keep up appearances. But suppression isn't deletion. It's storage. And stored emotion eventually leaks out. Imagine holding a beach ball underwater. You can keep it there for a while, but when you lose your grip, it doesn't just float up, it explodes to the surface. That's humanity right now. Decades of unprocessed fear, stress, and grief are bursting through the cracks. That's why small disagreements now turn into full-scale arguments. Why public conversations feel toxic. Why people seem more reactive, more fragile, more unpredictable. It's not that people have become worse. It's that the emotional pressure we've been holding collectively is finally surfacing, and most of us were never taught how to handle it. And here's the part most people miss. When millions of people are all suppressing the same kinds of emotion, fear, anxiety, uncertainty, that energy doesn't just affect individuals. It reshapes culture itself. The anger you see on social media, the numbness you feel in daily life, that's not random chaos. It's the system attempting to heal by revealing what's been hidden. The wounds have to become visible before they can be healed. And that visibility, it's uncomfortable. But it's also necessary. If you step back and look at society as a whole, the strangeness becomes even clearer. We've built a civilization designed for efficiency, comfort, and convenience, but not for meaning. Look at the average day. People wake up, check their phone, scroll through updates, rush to work, often doing something that doesn't feel deeply fulfilling but keeps the lights on. They come home, stare at another screen, compare themselves to other people's highlight reels, and go to bed feeling vaguely inadequate. Nothing in that routine is overtly wrong. But when you zoom out, something's missing: purpose, connection, depth. We've become consumers instead of creators. Performers instead of participants. Connected, but somehow profoundly alone. You can be surrounded by messages, comments, and notifications and still feel starved for real human connection. Because what the human soul craves isn't attention. It's presence. We replaced presence with performance, and over time, we forgot the difference. That's why you see couples at dinner staring at their phones instead of each other. Why at gatherings, people are more focused on documenting the moment than living it. We've collectively stepped 1 degree removed from our actual lives. We're not living them, we're broadcasting them. And in that gap between performance and presence, loneliness grows. Now let's ground this in biology, because this shift isn't just psychological or cultural, it's physical. We often forget that mind and body aren't separate. They're one integrated system. And when the system gets out of balance, it doesn't just affect health, it changes who we are. Over the last 2 decades, science has shown something remarkable. Your emotions, your thoughts, your sense of meaning, they all have measurable biological effects. Your gut, for example, isn't just a digestive organ. It's a neurochemical factory producing up to 90% of your body's serotonin, the chemical that regulates mood, calmness, and contentment, along with dopamine, which governs motivation and pleasure. When that system is disrupted by stress, processed food, chemicals, antibiotics, lack of sleep, serotonin and dopamine production plummets. And when those chemicals fall, patience fades, compassion shrinks, and joy becomes harder to access. So, imagine entire populations living with disrupted gut health, inflamed nervous systems, and unbalanced neurochemistry. That's not a metaphor, that's modern life. We're physically unwell in ways we can't always feel directly. And that imbalance expresses itself through emotion and behavior. People snap faster, forgive slower, focus less, and feel more anxious, not because they've changed morally, but because their biology is fighting to stay balanced in an environment it was never designed for. Most people don't make that connection. They just feel off and assume that's normal now. It's not normal. It's adaptation under stress. And when millions of people are adapting to dysfunction, dysfunction starts to look like culture, but this story doesn't end in decline. What if this isn't just a breakdown? What if it's the beginning of a breakthrough? For most of human history, people have lived on autopilot, not because they were lazy, but because survival demanded it. You did what worked. You followed patterns. You didn't question much. Consciousness stayed narrow, but when systems start to fail, when the old ways stop working, awareness starts to wake up. That's what happens under pressure. You begin to notice things you never saw before. You start questioning the patterns you've been repeating. It's happening to millions of people right now. We're beginning to see the voice in the head, the constant narrative, and realize we're not that voice. We're the awareness behind it. And that realization, subtle as it sounds, is the seed of a new kind of consciousness. But awakening isn't peaceful at first. Before you can rise above your unconscious patterns, you have to face them. And collectively, that's what humanity is doing. It looks chaotic because awakening always does. Before every renaissance, there's collapse. Before every leap forward, there's friction. The Renaissance came after the plague, the Enlightenment followed centuries of conflict. The world falls apart before it reorganizes at a higher level. And that's where we are, in the space between breakdown and breakthrough. That's why it feels like we're living in two worlds right now. One world is breaking down, built on fear, division, and distraction. The other is emerging, grounded in awareness, connection, and presence. You can feel the split. Some people are being pulled deeper into fear. Others are waking up, questioning old assumptions, seeking meaning, searching for something real. The light and the dark are amplifying each other. Because the brighter the light, the more visible the shadows become. That's not failure. That's transformation in progress. We're witnessing the old consciousness trying to hold on as a new one begins to rise. And yes, it's messy. It's uncomfortable. But that's what evolution feels like from the inside. So what can you actually do about it? Because understanding the problem intellectually isn't enough. You have to live differently. You can't control the world. You can't stop the chaos. But you can choose how you meet it. That choice, how you respond, is your power. You can react unconsciously, letting every strange interaction pull you into anger or despair. Or you can pause, observe, and respond from awareness instead of reaction. It sounds small, but it changes everything. Because when you stay centered while others lose theirs, you become a stabilizing force. People mirror the energy they encounter. When you stay calm, it gives them permission to do the same. When you stay present, it reminds them that presence is possible. You don't have to preach, or fix, or convince. Just be what you want to see more of. That's how transformation spreads, not from governments or institutions, but from individuals choosing consciousness over chaos. Now imagine what the next era of humanity could look like if enough people made that shift. A society built not just for productivity, but for awareness. Technology that supports presence instead of addiction. Education that teaches emotional intelligence as deeply as mathematics. Work that connects to purpose, not just paychecks. Food systems designed for health, not profit. All of that is possible. The tools already exist. What's missing is the consciousness to use them wisely, and that's where people like you come in, the ones who sense something off, who ask deeper questions, who refuse to accept this is just how things are. You're not crazy for noticing. You're awake. Every time you choose presence over distraction, compassion over judgment, connection over performance, you're shaping the collective future. You're part of debugging the emotional code of humanity. It's slow work, often invisible, sometimes lonely, but it's also the most important work there is. So here's something practical. Next time you feel that strangeness in someone, that emotional distance or reactivity, take a breath before you respond. Remember, what you're sensing probably isn't personal. It might be stress, imbalance, trauma, or simply a nervous system at its limit. You don't have to absorb it. You just have to see it clearly. When you do, you create space, and space is where empathy begins. Sometimes, your calm is the mirror someone needs to remember their own. That's how change happens, one interaction at a time. Yes, people have changed. The world has changed. But maybe the reason it feels so strange isn't because others got worse. Maybe it's because you've grown more aware. You're seeing more clearly now. You're noticing unconsciousness where you used to participate in it. You're recognizing disconnection because you've begun to value connection. That's not a curse. It's progress. You're evolving, and part of that evolution is noticing how much of the world is still asleep. So hold your center. Stay awake. Don't mistake turbulence for failure. Transformation always feels chaotic while it's happening. Because on the other side of this confusion, there's something extraordinary emerging. A humanity that's more self-aware, more connected, more aligned with what it means to truly be alive. So, if any part of this resonated with you, if you've been sensing that same quiet shift in the people around you, just know this: you're not alone. There are millions of others feeling it too, asking deeper questions, trying to live more consciously in a world that often rewards the opposite. We're scattered, but we're connected, through awareness, through intention, through the choice to keep showing up awake. That's how the new world begins, not all at once, but through small, consistent acts of consciousness. So keep noticing, keep choosing awareness over reaction. Keep living like the world you want already exists, because that's how it comes into being. And if this message helped clarify something you've been feeling but couldn't name, help it reach someone else who might need it. Hit the like button, not for vanity, but for visibility, so this idea can find more people waking up to the same shift. And if you want to keep exploring these deeper patterns together, the psychology, the biology, and the consciousness of modern life, consider subscribing. Because this transformation isn't something we're meant to navigate alone. We're figuring it out together, one conversation, one realization, one moment of awareness at a time. The world feels strange right now because it's changing. And so are we, and maybe, just maybe, that's exactly how it's supposed to feel before something better begins.